Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. I'm posting midweek. We're back on this train. It's taken me like 3 months, but okay, we're gonna get past that. I finally actually read and finished a book that I actually want to talk about and I actually have notes about. I'm pretty excited to talk about it. I'm gonna tell you what the book is, and that is The Boy in the Striped Pyjamas by Boyne. I actually started reading this book back in year 6. I would have been about 10 or 11 years old. Because I was young, I couldn't read it. It got me too scared and too upset. I picked this up in a charity shop and I was like, I have to read it. I love the film, I need to kind of read it. So I want to talk about it because I'm gonna vent, I'm gonna rant about the characters, about the story, and about how it made me feel. I will talk about the ending and how that differs from the film and how I think about the ending compared to the film, because that's kind of the thing that I was thinking when I finished the book. I really did enjoy the book, even though there was no surprises in it for me, because obviously I know the story quite well. I still gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. This book takes place in World War II and it focuses around a young German boy called Bruno. He's about 9 years old. His dad works quite high up in the army. They have to move out of Berlin to this other house. Bruno's not very happy about that. He's like, I'm leaving my friends, I'm leaving the town I love. And it's about him kind of learning and adapting to that place and him discovering. He's he wants to be an explorer, and it's about what he discovers and what he kind of learns about this place. There will be spoilers in this talk. If you don't want spoilers, all I'm going to say is it's great, you should read it. Prepare to get annoyed. So jumping into this book talk, I feel like the theme of this book is vulnerability, and that is just horrible because we're focusing on children, we're focusing on young kids. The vulnerability of Bruno and his sister Gretel is expressed really quickly, and it's completely nicely heartbreaking. You see them getting annoyed at the quiet servants. We do note that those quiet servants are Jews who are obviously who were originally in concentration camps, but they've been brought down to the house. And also the whole thing with them not being able to pronounce or pronouncing out. I take it is Auschwitz. It took me a while to actually think, oh, maybe it is called out with, but then I realised who calls something out with. But obviously they do mean Auschwitz, but obviously to kind of emphasise that vulnerability of them, they make them pronounce it wrong. I feel like if they got the kids to be like Auschwitz all the time, it'd be a bit more uncomfortable. I feel like with this it's a bit more making it light-hearted, but a little bit uncomfortable. And as I said straight away, Boyne has already made the audience feel uncomfortable and kind of worried. We are kind of slightly worried that these kids might find out the truth, or they're never gonna I think that's the one thing. If I didn't know the story of this book, I would be a bit worried, because I either think they're gonna find out about what's happening and be completely shocked and traumatized, or they're never gonna find out and they're gonna keep that vulnerability, and it's just gonna be a bit horrible for them. I don't know if I would prefer them to not find out. One aspect that I was actually really looking forward to reading about, and I really did enjoy reading about it, was Pavel. But he was one of my favourite parts of the film because he's so sweet. I obviously am more inclined to care and more inclined to feel sorry for Pavel because I know what's going on. I know that he's not a bad person. Even though obviously again, I know this whole story, I know all the storylines of all these characters, I still found it really kind of heartbreaking reading his story. His story of, despite being a doctor back where he lived, he is not anymore because obviously the Germans are like, you're a Jew. It does make you angry because obviously I'm not blaming Bruno, but his vulnerability and his naivety does kind of emphasize that anger. You kind of can tell by the book, by the title of the book, or maybe some images from the film, that Bruno might meet a boy from a concentration camp, but meeting Shmuel and how they kind of interact, it is both heartbreaking and it makes you this is the thing of the book, anger. It makes you angry. I do kind of get annoyed at Bruno. I know I shouldn't because he is a kid, but I do kind of get annoyed at Bruno. It's not his fault that he's ignorant, he's a kid. But obviously both Bruno and Shmuel are both naive in the sense that they don't know their opposite sides. They think that they're just completely the same because they haven't really been taught, especially Bruno hasn't been taught about this whole thing of we're complete opposites, they're the bad people, we're the good people. Bruno just assumes that everyone's a good person. That naivety of them thinking they're both on the same side, if you know what I mean. Bruno makes those comments of how it's unfair that Shmuel has friends that he can play with on the other side of the fence when Bruno doesn't, because he's alone with his family. And the one thing that again was quite hard was when Bruno was kind of comparing, or I can't remember if Shmuel was kind of comparing, but mainly Bruno was comparing the swastika and the Star of David. The Star of David is a religious symbol. It's like the cross, it's like the crucifix. Whereas the swastika, Bruno is kind of comparing them and kind of deciding on them, what one he likes better, as if he's deciding what pair of shoes he wants to wear. He just thinks it's just a really basic, not meaningful symbol. Whereas they're one of the most recognised symbols ever. The swastika even now is a symbol of Nazis, and for now is a symbol of what was. Whereas the Star of David back then was a branding, it was a mark, it was a way of telling people, oh, that's a Jew. And as I said before, Bruno's privilege and stuff again makes you angry because it makes him so ignorant, but again, he doesn't know that. He doesn't know that much about the world around him. And some of the conversations I remember them having was the one when Shmuel was telling Bruno how he kind of got to the camp and how we were on a train, it was really packed and I didn't like it, and Bruno was like, oh, but you know, you have the food and you got all like the little compartments, and then Shmuel was like, oh no, that wasn't it for us, like it was completely packed. As he's only known like one certain sort of train, he thinks that's what trains are everywhere, whereas Shmuel went on a completely different train which is not anything at all like the trains that Bruno knows. Again, you have that same conversation of Bruno being jealous and saying it's unfair that Shmuel has all these friends on the other side of the camp which he can play with and he doesn't have anyone. I can't remember if Bruno kind of gets annoyed at Shmuel for that, but Bruno thinks he's the unlucky one. He thinks that Shmuel's the lucky one for having the friends when really Bruno's the lucky one. Obviously, as the book goes on and obviously time passes, it's kind of quite hard and horrible to see Gretel accept what is around her and like the world around her. You can see how like corrupt her innocence has become because she's kind of learned to accept what's really going on, and she kind of has to explain to Bruno. At one point he says out with, and she's like, oh, for God's sake, Bruno, that's not how you say it, you keep pronouncing it wrong, it's Auschwitz. He obviously doesn't understand. It's still just like heartbreaking to see this young girl who's not even like 15, she's like 13, 14 I think, probably 13. She's already accepted that her people are condemning these people to death. Seeing her, someone so young, accept that is just so heartbreaking. Like obviously I learned about that stuff when I was obviously a kid, when I was about 10, and obviously I was taught, and obviously I know that I should be like, that was wrong. I can kind of see that contrast between me and her. Even though I was learning it from years in the future, I was brought up to be like, that was wrong. But even though she's surrounding herself with this, even though she's completely surrounded by this situation, she's been kind of forced to accept this, forced to think that this is the right way. As I said, I wanted to talk about the ending. They deal with the ending differently in the film as in compared to the book. In the book, they have it where Bruno is just missing. They never really work out for ages what actually happened to him. It's not until the dad kind of goes to the fence or finds the fence, the part of the fence which Bruno would visit Shmuel at, where he sees that someone could have fitted under. I feel like that's the only one bit of emotion you really see from the dad, and I don't even think you get that really in the film. That's really the only one bit of emotion that you get to see from the father, see him kind of have completely break down when he realises, oh crap, my son could have been killed, could have been gassed along with all these Jews that I've been condemning to death. If you haven't seen the film, what happens is the mother and Gretel and Bruno all moving back to Berlin. They're just about to leave and Bruno's like, oh, I'm gonna go exploring, because he's going to see Shmuel for the last time. He's gonna go and help Shmuel find his dad, and they're like, oh, where's Bruno? And they're searching the whole house for him, and they realise he's gone out the back, so they follow his path, they follow where he would have ran off to go to the fence, and they run to the fence. I think instead of him slipping under the fence as he does in the film, they dig a hole for him to like slide under, but the mum and all kind of the soldiers and Gretel kind of get there. Oh, I think the dad does as well, I can't remember, but they kind of get there, they see the dug hole, they see his clothes by the side, realising he's taking his clothes off, and they probably assume that he's put on some pyjamas if he's gone under the fence. I think probably at first they're probably not like, oh, he's dead. They're probably like, oh, we need to get him out of there. It's so heartbreaking through the performance. Bruno's dad obviously runs into the camp because he's like kind of the leader. He's like shouting Bruno's name. I think he realises that they've just done a gassing. Even though he hasn't got the proof yet, I think he's like realised what's happened. And with how the dad responds, the mother understands, the mother can realise. And it's heartbreaking, it's so heartbreaking. She breaks down, she's in tears, she's like sobbing on the ground. You can imagine how a mother responds to her finding out her child's died, and then that's just it finishes. With the book, I understand why he did that ending. It's like a simple, not like forceful ending. I think with the book's ending, it kind of emphasizes that thing of, because there were so many of them, so many of the Jews and everybody in the camp, emphasizes that thing of they never cared about them. They could have gone through the bodies. Obviously they would have never identified them, but I feel like it emphasizes how cold they were towards them and how horrible they were towards them because they never identified the body. And I feel like if that was the thing they did, they would have been like, oh, one of them's Bruno. The last couple of lines in the book kind of was just taken aback a little bit. And that's the end of the story about Bruno and his family. Of course, all this happened a long time ago and nothing like that could ever happen again. Not in this day and age. And obviously I feel like when John Boyne first wrote that, he was kind of being like, yeah, this will never happen again. We all know that. But then it still made me go like, oh God. Don't know, I'm being like pessimistic here, but you know, you kind of do sometimes think like all the stuff that's going on in the world right now, you do worry. I'm rushing the ending because my camera battery is flashing at me. So I hope you guys enjoy this video. If you have any thoughts, comments, whatever about this book, let me know in the comments below. I really did enjoy this book. Have a great time filming this video. Camera battery is flashing. Gonna have to end this. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. All my links in the description below, and I'll see you guys in my next video.